Hello there YouTube, Mark Verrier here. With it's super hot out. It's like 32 degrees or something. Go outside and you'll melt. So this is the reason why I decided to just be indoors for a bit. But I chose to don a nice summer t-shirt and shorts. This video is a video about a single game on two different Commodore systems. This is a video on Galaxian, running both on the VIC-20 as well as the Commodore 64. It was released more or less in the same year on both machines, and surprisingly enough, I find the VIC-20 superior to the Commodore 64 version. Both have their merits, but yeah, I'll show the Commodore 64 version first, and then I'll show the VIC-20 version. So let's go take a look. Okay, so here we have the Commodore 64 version, which was released 4 years after the initial 1979 release in the arcades. Press start to play the game and you're presented with a very nice screen, a high resolution screen. I don't think they're using sprites, I think they're using character-based graphics. And because of that, the game is rather slow. This is running on the NTSC version of the Commodore 64, which makes it about 20% faster than the PAL Commodore 64. It's rather slow, so you can imagine that on the PAL Commodore 64, this game, well, it's very, very slow. As you can see, the hitboxes are rather large. Even if you manage to evade the bullets or the projectiles from the alien that are shot down, you end up dying anyways, even if aliens crash into you. So that is quite a bit of a frustrating thing, but I guess the fact that they're using character-based graphics and not the Commodore 64 hardware hit detection, yeah, results in that happening. The gameplay is surprisingly simple. You're basically this spaceship that has to fire upon the aliens that come swarming down wave after wave. You can only move left and right, and you can only have one shot at a time and have to wait for the shot to hit an alien or disappear off screen to be able to fire another shot, which makes it a rather tame game. If you defeat one swarm, another even more aggressive swarm will replace it, and that ramps up the difficulty. If you look at this game, you might think Space Invader, a Space Invaders ripoff. Well, it wasn't a ripoff, but it was designed to directly compete with Taito's Space Invaders. But this game features a more enhanced gameplay. Its successor, Galaga, which was released in 1981, features slightly different gameplay, with more bullets being able to be fired simultaneously, and the ability to capture one of the alien vessels, doubling your firepower. But that's another game. For the VIC-20 version, I'm using the Mega card. I'm running this game from that. And as you can see, 1983 Atari. Let's play this game. The ship moves around quicker. The bullets you can fire a lot quicker, and you die a lot quicker. No, but the game really plays a lot faster, and it's actually quite nice. If you take into account the very limited hardware that the VIC-20 has to contend with. From the outside, it may actually look like its younger brother, the Commodore 64, but on the inside, things are quite different for this little machine. It doesn't have any sprites. Now, the Commodore 64 version didn't use any sprites either, but the VIC-20 seems to be a much more capable machine when using this type of technique. It really makes me wonder whether Atari actually used the same programmers for the VIC-20 version as well as the Commodore 64 version, because you would think that the Commodore 64 would be capable of something as fast-paced as this. It may be the higher screen resolution that the Commodore 64 sports has something to do with it being slower, but in my honest opinion, this really is the better game of the two. Now, if you like this, you may be able to check it out on various other platforms. I'll list some of the ports that exist. There's a port on the Apple II, Atari 400-800 machines, the Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, on the ColecoVision, the Commodore VIC-20, as you can see here, the Commodore 64. There's also a Dreamcast version, a Game Boy bundled with the successor Galaga. There's an IBM PC MS-DOS port. It was developed for Java. It came out on the MSX system, also the Japanese NEC PC 8801 platform, the Nintendo Famicom, the Sharp X1 computer, the Virtual Console in Japan, and the ZX Spectrum. Now in this port, the speed and the level of difficulty doesn't increase as much as the Commodore 64 version does. It sort of plateaus out, so if you persist, it's actually quite possible to achieve quite a high score. But yeah, like I said, I think this is the better game. Like Space Invaders before it, this game actually is very innovative. Gosh, that's a difficult word. Innovative when it comes to graphics, because the arcade version features a scrolling star field and it uses multiple colored sprites, just like the VIC-20 version is using, or it's not using sprites, but it uses multiple colors for the alien graphics, which wasn't seen before prior to that in video games. Also, it features some sort of music, which also is one of the first games to feature something like that. Now, another game that was clearly inspired by this is actually the game Gyrus. Gyrus basically is this, or Galaga, its successor, but then in a very special perspective where that zooms out of the screen, much like you will find on Tempest, really a perspective, almost pseudo 3D type of affair. Oops, game over.